We're going to continue now with this certain passage from the first book of Samuel in the Old Testament, where you've got the chapter number 28, where you're dealing with this medium that Saul asked to get information from Samuel, and she did, and she got the information that was given to Samuel. And let me say one thing though about the information that was given to Samuel. Um, Samuel gave to Saul information similar to what he had given him when he was actually alive, and advised Saul not to do what he was planning to do, but Saul didn't. He ignored it and went right on with what he. Now he realizes his mistake, and that's part of the reason God wouldn't answer him, because God knew he made a mistake, and Saul, knew he made a mistake. So he shouldn't be asking for anyone else's advice, but he does. But the interesting thing, as I said before, what Samuel says to Saul is very accurate and very correct. That's actually the question. Now, when we do this now, we will begin with the Quest Bible, which is the question and answer Bible. By the way, you see that little question mark right there? Well, that shows you what that means. Now, what we're going to do, you will notice in this before, there are sometimes these little commentaries on the side and sometimes articles on the bottom. Well, that fits very well with what we're doing, because the fact is that the side note right here, one of the first ones says, "Why should Saul, who was evil, go to the same place as the righteous prophet Samuel when he died?" Okay, it says here, Old Testament people did not understand the afterlife as a grand and glorious celebration. Rather, they believed it to be a shadow existence in Sheol, the subterranean abode of the dead, a place apart from the earth, but still accessible to God. Okay, now let's read this little article underneath, which gives us some more information that I think is quite helpful. We'll read some of that for you now. It says here, this is called something, clearly something supernatural happened in the house of the medium that night. The woman saw a ghostly figure coming up out of the earth. Traditionally, a number of perplexing questions have swirled around this passage of Scripture. Was this woman actually able to bring someone up from the dead, or was she an expert in spiritual fraud? Did Samuel actually appear, or was this an old man, a demon playing the role of Samuel? Did Samuel appear as a result of the medium power, or did God intervene and raise Samuel? You see, now this little article has those questions. And then it goes on to say a little further, an element of mystery surrounding this story. And it would be presumptuous to claim that we have all the answers. This episode seems to confirm that there is a realm beyond the ordinary physical world, a spiritual realm that can somehow interact with the world in which we live. Though the scientific mind of the Western culture has numbered this, our sensitivity to the spiritual world, not really what we understand, but the Bible asserts the reality of the unseen world, and he gives some examples. And he mentions St. Paul also, and so forth. Now, in this you see that question is asked. Is it answered? It is not particularly answered, but it does give you some points of view. Now, that's what this Quest annotated answer and question and answer Bible does. It sometimes will give you an answer directly, or it will put you in the context of what's happening and say it's almost a decision that no one can make, because we ourselves don't have that kind of ability to summon the truth as directly, let's say, as Samuel gave to Saul through this medium. Now, that is one way to look at it. Now, for example, if we continue this, and we might not be able to do it that long, but if we take the next one, which of course is the Word Bible, which of course has all these same things in it. Now let's see what this says here. First of all, we're going to read this little section which is earlier. Here we go. It says here, this is simultaneously one of Saul's greatest offenses against God, and one of the times when he is a sympathetic character. As he comes to battle the Philistines, he has been cut off from any contact with God. It must seem that though everyone conspires against him, that he is all alone in the world, so against his own decree of forbidden such a thing, he consults a medium who can speak to the dead. A dark practice according to Hebrew law. A dark practice according to Hebrew law. Now, the other commentary at the end of this chapter says this. Now, by the way, after she spoke to him and Saul heard from Samuel, he fell on the ground because he knew it was the divine truth. And he wouldn't get up and he wouldn't eat and he probably was going to die. So this woman told him, don't be afraid. I will make a meal for you. I want you to live. Now, this is what this Voice Bible says about that. The medium reveals herself to be a woman of compassion when the king collapses in fear and hunger. She feeds him. The last meal, prepared and served with kindness for a condemned man. And Saul, knowing his fate beforehand, is ready to die in battle. So there you see what these two interesting Bibles, the Quest Bible and the Voice Bible, have as notes clarifying one of the most difficult sections of the Bible to interpret. Now, when we come back with the third one, this one will become something rather interesting from, of course, the Dake Annotated Reference Bible. So that will be our next source in this section. And we have medium 1 previous to this. This will be medium 2. And of course, the next one will be medium 3.